you watch the front as much as the rear?
Most definitely.
Oh.
Probably the front more than anything.
Yeah.
Front's the first part of the car to hit, hit
So
anywhere.
too
Hit
stiff, it can shear. The car will be tight. It'll be tight, not a side bite tight. It'll be a tight because the damn spring's too stiff, shearing off the right front. Your travel will be less. It might still be more, but on a whole, it's going to be less because it's shearing the right front. When you're too soft, travel is going to be more, and then the side bite is the right rear is pinned. That's why it's tight. On a side bite, right rear tight, or right front too stiff, shearing the right front. So once you understand them too, now that can be one is checking your brakes. When you say, what's the car doing? If he says the car is loose and he's all rear brake, it ain't loose. It's tight and he's shaking it down, right? So if he says it's loose and he's all rear brake, then either he needs to learn to use his brake adjuster to go to the front, or it's tight and he's shaking it down. That's why he's feeling loose, but he's all rear brake. So you can kind of use a brake adjuster to tune in on what the problem is if you get a lack of communication to the driver.
Yeah, and a heat sensor on the brake rotors. If you have trouble getting, if he's not super sure, but this goes back to that video camera, man, because you'll be able to watch it. I mean, if the car's if it's pushing and gonna shear, the car's stable. It's not leaning. It's just like it's stuck, and then all of a sudden it's stuck, and then it's gone. If it's over like this, and if you see the car kind of bounce over in there, and then all of a sudden it pushes, well, normally when it gets to the right front, it's going to go to the right. So then all of a sudden it's going to go back here. Well, then all of a sudden, without massive amounts of horsepower, if it gets stuck too hard on that right rear, you can't pull itself back up.
One thing I've seen too, and stand correct if I'm wrong, because I might say it is wrong, but I've noticed this on a few cars, especially like last week with tighter paperclip tracks. In order to determine if your car is tight in the front end and corner entry, or if it's your ass end that's causing you to be tight. So when you go into your number one part of the corner, and the car you go to turn in, the front end turns, but then the car goes straight, that usually means that your rear end's too tight. Usually if you get into the number two and then your front end skates out, that's usually your front end is too tight. Is that
I would agree with that.
right? Because I noticed that down in Texas a lot. There's a lot of stock cars there running a ton of trail or a ton of lead in the right rear, and then the grippy tracks. I mean, they'd come in and you could see the front end turn, but the car would go. It just goes straight.
Right rear
and it's because the rear end of the car is still driving you straight. And you can't turn, and I see that happen a lot.
So understand when you do a softer right front spring or stiffer right rear spring, when you're entering a corner, you got X amount of weight transfer that's happening inside to outside. So as you soften one corner, that spring is going to get less weight of that weight that is transferring, whatever that number is, 1,000 pounds, 500 pounds, whatever that weight is. So when you soften that corner is going to get less weight. That weight's still transferring, so it's going to go to the other corner. So that's where a soft spring can create a tight scenario, because it lets the front end steer and it puts side bite on the right rear tire. So less weight, it ain't going to be killing the right front as hard. That same weight that's transferring, it's going to go to the right rear. Generally, you can go up on spring rate, pick up side bite by soft right front spring, big right rear spring, bigger, and it'll create side bite through the corner. So again, like he said, if it initially turns in and then gets tight, right rear. You go to cut the steering wheel and it don't even want to turn in, that's too stiff on the right front or left front. Off throttle, we talked about left front spring, stiffer or softer. Left front spring only off throttle, softer will turn. On throttle, left front spring change isn't what you're looking for. That'd probably be more of a right front throttle tightness or looseness on a right front corner. So left front spring, freer in, off throttle. On throttle, don't go to the left front to try to free your corner entry, because that's not going to fix it. Don't be afraid of numbers. Don't care. Left front is left front, off throttle. Right front is on throttle and off throttle. Yep. So do not be afraid of a number. If it's big and little, don't matter.
And the steering wheel thing, I don't know if this is a bad thing, but
Go for
so
it.
like any track you go to, like
Now,
when
Paul
you're talking,
actually used to drive, so he actually knows.
He's going to drive again this year.
Believe. But so like when they were talking about that before about the Kenny Schrader deal, one thing I always tell like guys that whenever the tight thing going in the corner, when you pull out onto the track, like say before your heat race or whatever, you roll it onto the track. If you got your steering wheel, you turn into the corner, and whatever input at pace speed. So say you put that much input into the steering wheel to make it around the corner. So when you go into the corner under green, if you turn if that wheel turns past that point, your car's too tight.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, way to go, Paul. Let's give him a hand.
But it's because it's only like on a big swooping track.
Yeah, I
you're
never
gonna have
thought
less
about that.
input versus you go to like Algona or a couple tracks here in Texas. You know, you might be turning like this to get the car. To me, that's still too. You should never have to turn a wheel that far in corner entry. But
Because I mean, you're gonna get some loose roll steer through your suspension. So
Right.
if you're beyond that, your weight definitely too.
right, yep, exactly. So it's just easy, and that's an easy way to pick out for yourself. Instead of you scratching your head, you're like, "God, is my car too tight?" Well, just you know right away if I got to turn past that much, I'm gonna loosen the car up.